It's David Batulis with the Sir Henry Vane College of Knights. Getting back to Karen Zook and the West Lebanon Planning Board. We'd love to receive a conceptual review of what direction we're going. We are in talks with 8 townships in New England as a place for the Sir Henry Vane College of Knights. Sir Henry Vane College of Knights traced back to my ancestor Sir Henry Vane, who's the 5th governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, that founded Harvard University, that also founded Manefest Destiny, that had a vision of calculus in the design of ships, and that built the British Navy that was able to bring down the Dutch. People forget that New England was under control of the Dutch West India Company before Sir Henry Vane. The founding of Harvard University and passing the first religious freedom law by Sir Henry Vane was so critical in the language of English, overcoming the language of Dutch in the New World. A lot of the historic differentiation of New Hampshire, for example, is being English, aside from being under the Dutch West India Company. You can draw the distinction between New York. If you look back 30 years, New Hampshire governors have rejected having an interstate connecting New York to, upstate New York, to New Hampshire 101. And the reason is the Dutch West India Company was based in Albany. The Dutch West India Company had a mentality that is different than the values in New Hampshire. And so the right answer for West Lebanon, New Hampshire, in terms of planning and heritage, is looking back at that Kent English tradition, of which the origin of Kent English is Sir Henry Vane, his 10 years as 5th governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, where he passed the first religious freedom law, founded Harvard University, founded Manefest Destiny, and he graduated Knights into the Royal British Navy. We plan to graduate Knights into America's healthcare system to help build a better healthcare system, predicated on 6 new chivalric orders, of which include Kent English, which is workability first medicine. That happens to be one of the steps that, and one of the milestones that we've reached in our planning for the Sir Henry Vane College of Knights, is that we include multiple different Hippocratic orders. Hippocrates comes from superior in horses. It traces back to the ancient horse shepherd tradition. That tradition is so important in medicine because it's where the oath is derived. One of the things that we talked about in my last video was the Kent English tradition of EMTs, of ambulance drivers, of paramedics being more than just a short robe provider. Elsewhere in America, I've implemented a community paramedic model so that the phone calls into 911 that your paramedics are answering to can be reviewed for root causes and traced back to the community member, the patient's home, to trace back to the old tradition of medicine of going into the patient's home to try to prevent those 911 calls, to try to get into understanding the origin of disease inside the patient's environment. That is a tradition of medicine that is in the Kent English tradition. That is a tradition that we intend to bring back, is to offer a community paramedic option. That option can help pay the town back over long periods of time. And our intention is to launch a professional school. We think that having a professional school makes all the sense in the world, because the answer for the West Lebanon development is getting back to what made West Lebanon, which was the Tilden Seminary. Seminary Hill, being a professional school, finishing school, was the origin of all of the occupancy of the buildings downtown. That was the origin of the whole corridor that went all the way up to the north end of town. And only recently is it described that it was the road to Dartmouth, because the seminary, the Tilden Seminary, was an exceptional institution in the 19th century. And West Lebanon had a rival to Dartmouth University. Now, we are at the RFP stage. We're in talks with 8 other seminaries and 8 other New England towns. Some of them have institutions affiliated with them. Some of them have towns affiliated with them. In this case, West Lebanon has the ability to provide all the occupancy and resources needed to get the Starting One College of Knights off the ground. Our intent is to have a medium-sized cohort of professionals. That would be a pedestrian community. That pedestrian community is what the planning board has described in its development vision in West Lebanon. Is people walking up and down a fully occupied corridor. We've done research in looking in the West Lebanon corridor. We've done time studies. The interesting thing is the under-occupancy of buildings, particularly of Kent English tradition organizations, is that there were all kinds of Kent English organizations up and down that development corridor, of which none of them exist, and the Tilden Seminary is not involved in a Kent English tradition, despite being tied back to the Kent English tradition of being a finishing school. So we'd love to have a conceptual review. We do have a plan to launch, workability first medicine as one of the medical sects. Offer Epicurean first medicine as another medical sect. To offer life expectancy first medicine. To offer ability first medicine. To offer cure first medicine. And to offer our quality improvement methodology called Leading Expect, which is based on one of my books. Which is First Night, First Medicine, which is medicine that traces back to the first horse shepherd, the origin of the Hippocratic Oath. And we think that having those 6 separate chivalric orders will be key to attracting a professional student body and having a right-sized campus that fits, for the 8 communities that we're looking at in New England. It would fit really well in West Lebanon. It's difficult to conceive of another option that would occupy the Tilden Seminary and have it comply fully with Tilden's intent. We know that our bid, the West Lebanon's bid for the Starting One College of Knights would bring the Tilden Seminary, right up to the donors' fund request. We're wide open to learning more about what other projects have met the burden of completeness that the planning board has requested. Our needs, for the inaugural year is, basically lecture theater, offices for, what amounts to 24 students, of which our roster and our staffing model scales with volumes. We have capacity already to be able to take more than 24 students. We think that's a reasonable place to begin. As we described last time, it's an option for folks from West Lebanon to continue their education in West Lebanon. For very high-achieving folks that want to get into highly sought-after industries such as healthcare, medicine. We have 14 medical sciences that we want to incorporate into the college, of which each of them are based on a neurosystem that explains human behavior. That happens to be unique, where our College of Knights is not going to be built around departments in the way that other universities are organized by departments, but being organized around sciences. And being organized around sciences first, particularly around behavioral economics, is what makes us different and what makes us elite, and what has made our customer and client base, the physicians that we've served over the last 20 years, has been an elite base of physicians. In large measure that we've been at the forefront of behavioral economics. I happen to be a published, peer-reviewed pharmacologist, a published peer-reviewed biochemist, a published peer-reviewed healthcare administrator. I've written a book, Perfecting the Brand American Medicine. I also wrote a book, Kyrios Relativity, which is really central to our bid, because Kyrios relativity solves multiple problems that Einstein mentioned in his special relativity, and advances really the process of social trust between individuals, where special relativity was inherently cynical and focused on four-dimensional space-time, whereas my Kyrios relativity has a seven-dimensional space-time, where there's the acoustic collidus that we're familiar with in these 3 dimensions plus time, and then there's the opacity collidus where our soul is, and that happens to be critical in understanding our species, our markets, and our tradition of law. And that's the foundation of our mission at Serenity Vaughn College of Knights. Includes the Kyrios relativity, the main energy. Is we have a physics that's differentiated from Einstein's physics, that is a rock-ribbed medical science telling, and that's why we've built our university based on those 14 medical sciences, rather than building them on departments, rather than building them on philosophy. They're built on science. So they're real conservative. Like we said, we want to start with our inaugural cohort of 24 students that has a requirement of offices that's less than 6. We could do make do with a mailbox and 4 offices and get the college off the ground. We think that that's a very conservative use of Tilden resources. We think that fits a plan for the neighborhood and fits a plan for downtown, because you're building a plan for more middle-aged professionals to live here for an extended period of time and add to the foot traffic and add to the occupancy downtown. We'd love to have your help. Karen Zook has been very helpful. We love to engage other members of the planning board. The Heritage Commission, as we approach donors, in the town's budget as well, it's not known by everybody that the Tilden Seminary actually had an additional floor on top, and there was an unfortunate fire many decades ago that was basically the top floor was removed rather than built on top. And I'm not familiar with the documents on the sound, how sound the building foundation is, but it's possible that a 4th floor could be added, back to its heritage. That helps. If you look at how Paris was built, of which, I happen to be descendant of a French architect from the 19th century, who was involved in building Paris and rebuilding Paris. Something that's really striking about the Paris design model was, as you got closer to downtown, looking at 4 to 6 story buildings was really critical in having the beauty and intimacy that about Paris. And some of the occupancy problems in downtown West Lebanon can be solved by looking at a 4 to 6 floor building, which Tilden originally was an extra floor taller. And it would be, a more intimate, more occupied town. And that's really what Tilden was by 19th century standards. It had more Kent English style buildings, and wasn't a sprawling urban community, but did have a different mix of buildings and a different mix of occupancy than they have today. Tilden Seminary in particular was a whole floor higher, and so had a whole extra floor, a whole extra finishing school of students which is true from all over America and also from West Lebanon. And so we think it would be an excellent opportunity for the Heritage Commission to look at financing from the town and from other donors for adding back that floor to the, what's now the Tilden Seminary, which can become the Sir Henry Vane College of Knights. And it can solve all kinds of zoning issues on this side of town that make it a better place to live, that reduce traffic congestion because people live here and can commute by foot, which is more of the traditional building pattern, for New England. So, as we said, we have 7 other townships, some of them with institutions that are bidding on, Sir Henry Vane College of Knights. The Bay Colony came all the way up to the Connecticut River Valley. Sir Henry Vane was one of America's knights. Not everybody's aware that America had knights. The tradition of knights included both an accounting system and a system of law and a system of chivalry, which included architecture and town design. And we think that the Kent English tradition is what makes New England great, particularly the micropolitan statistical areas, like West Lebanon, the ones that are intimate, community-focused, have great public schools. That's a Kent English tradition. And so we'd love to, knowing that the Heritage Commission is less stringent, we'd be willing to engage the Heritage Commission before or after we engage the Planning Commission. But we think restoring West Lebanon is about restoring a college, basically, to the West Lebanon downtown area. And the Tilden Seminary was that centerpiece that was the basis for all of the other development, and part of why the occupancy is not there, part of why it's a drive-through town, is that the seminary isn't occupied, and it's locked and closed off to the community. Whereas the Sir Henry Vane College of Knights would be an open door to the rest of New England, an open door to the rest of the country. It's a place that would be classy, where you would likely see visits from, the president, from foreign heads of state, from, governors from other states, can make a whistle stop at our College of Knights. We have a tradition of excellence, as part of our initiatives in combating the opioid crisis, of diversion prevention, that's really the best in the whole world. 40% of America's prescriptions go through an algorithm that I created over 10 years ago. It's one of the few successes in the war on drugs. It's something every governor in America, can learn from, basically. And, we have 20 other programs, 14 of them entirely built on neurosystems, behavioral economics, of which will make our success inevitable. And, we intend to offer this new qualitative, College of Knights in the old Kent English tradition. You just imagine, our professional knights, 24 of them, 48 of them, 72 of them, in the first year or 2 or 3, walking across the stage at Tilden, to become knighted, and go off to be governors or directors of health and human services at different states in America and throughout the world. And that is a Kent English tradition that used to be here. That is a lot of what Sir Henry Vane built, and that's what needs to be brought back as part of our heritage. In the language of English was evangelizing the Kent English tradition throughout the world and across America. As a Manefest Destiny, and we can be the beginning and the end of that Manefest Destiny right here in West Lebanon, New Hampshire. There's 7 other towns that we've engaged with other institutions down towards the Boston area. But we think that West Lebanon would be a great fit. It would be a great opportunity for professionals that grew up in West Lebanon to come back, to become, come back to be close, to come back, raise family, to come back, give back, to the community. And so join us, Sir Henry Vane College of Knights. We hope to add to the tradition of excellence, add to the heritage at the Tilden Seminary, and be the crown jewel of the planning board's recommendations for the West Lebanon Township. We can be reached by email. We can also be reached through our website, profi.me.